Hello everyone, my name is Nex, and today I am just going to give you a quick and easy overview of sand pusher or force field technology in Bedrock Edition. Basically just how it works, how you build each one, and their individual properties. So if you are not aware what a sand pusher is basically a contraption that uses a bug, which is this one, and that bug is basically that if you have a piston facing upwards and there's a transparent block on it that is less than the size of a bottom half slab, so like this, or the size of the bottom half slab, they will all stack on top of this piston, and there will be sand on top of the piston in the entity form. Now this in itself is a pretty interesting bug, because if we do stack it up, as you can see, all the sands that we did have stacked up in there will instantly form a pillar. And that is a pretty interesting mechanic in itself, but very interesting things happen if we actually restrict the sand from stacking up, such as in these configurations. And these configurations are what we call a sand pusher. Now, I have shown this before on several contraptions before on my channel, notably an elytra launcher, which is this right here. You simply press a button and it launches you up. And of course also in my gold farms, where I use this to push the pigmen into a trident killer kill chamber, and it is indeed more lag efficient than a water stream. And also in my force field mob farm concept, which is only a concept because it is extremely laggy due to the high amount of sand. But either way, let's go over the basics of sand pushers. So I'm just going to build the most basic of basic sand pushers to demonstrate what I mean. And for that, we're just going to put, let's say, 16 sand in the sand pushers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, as you can see, that is exactly 16 sand, and once we break that, it will all stack up on top of this right here, because there is an upwards facing piston and a slab preventing it from making direct contact with the upwards facing piston. Now, to get the sand pusher into proper position, we're just going to power this quickly. And once we have that, we can remove this one, because the sand, while it does look like it's completely centered, it will technically be on that side, and of course not completely, but it will still have an upwards facing piston underneath us, and that is the important part for the sand to stay stacked. But anyways, this is our main state of our sand pusher, and I'm going to explain you some properties of sand pushers now. So, first of all, these sand pushers are capable of moving entities or players. Now, how they move entities is different depending on how close you are to this stacked sand, but I'm just going to demonstrate this to you for a second. So I set up a little measurement system for our sand pusher contraption, and remember, we have 16 pieces of sand stacked right in there. Now, we are just going to demonstrate what happens if I stand right here, so I have some decent distance from the sand pusher, and I press the button. As you can see, I will get pushed to the 12 block mark, and that is because, well, I am not sure if that's why, but I'm pretty sure that it's related to the push limit of pistons that are able to push 12 blocks normally, and that happens when you are not right up against the sand, so you will get pushed 12 blocks relative to the piston on which the sand is stacked. Now, this functions differently if I stand right here. Basically, what happens then, I get pushed the exact amount of blocks that are inside of here. So we have 16 sand right in here, and we get pushed all the way to this blue section, which is 16 blocks. So let's demonstrate that again, and we get pushed 16 blocks. These properties also apply to entities, so we can just demonstrate this with an item. If it is not right up against that sand, it will only get pushed 12 blocks. However, if I put the item right here, as you can see, it will get pushed 16 blocks. What you also need to know is that this form of transport is actually teleportation. Now, it is a limited form of teleportation because it will not push you through blocks, but you will not get affected by anything that doesn't have a collision box. So let's just demonstrate this. I'm going to go into game mode survival, and if I do stand here and I push this, I will get pushed through and not get set on fire. Now this is a property of sand pushers. Like I said, it sort of is teleportation, but it will not push you right through solid blocks or any blocks that have a collision box. So we can just demonstrate this by placing some solid blocks right here. And if I do stand right here, and I should get pushed 16 blocks to the blue section over there, except no, because there are solid blocks in the way. So if it has a collision box in any way, which means basically that you can stand on it or that it prevents you from moving anywhere, it will stop you from moving to your proper destination. So if I have an open fence gate, it obviously does not have a collision box. I move all the way to 16. Now, because, like I said, this is a form of teleportation, although it does not teleport you through solid blocks, it means that you don't actually travel the distance between A and B, A being the sand pusher's location, and B being the amount of blocks that you should be pushed, either 12 or the amount of blocks that are right in here. And that, of course, means that you don't lose any horizontal position if your launcher is upwards, or any vertical position if your launcher is sideways. So our launcher is sideways, and I'm just going to break some of those blocks, and I will arrive there floating at our 12 block mark. And yeah, as you can see, I would be floating. Now I can just demonstrate this like this, and I will not be affected by the gap right here. Nothing will happen. I won't fall down because I get sort of teleported from A to B. Now, unfortunately, because it is some type of teleportation, it also has a bug involved with it. Now, this bug is that when this is used in multiplayer, notably when another player is in the nearby area and you use the sand pusher, the other player may crash because, from my understanding, the player model, which is yours when you get pushed, gets moved from A to B so fast, and the other game client gets confused as to where your player model should be rendered, and then it crashes. It is not related to lag, it's just that it gets confused and then it crashes. These sand pushers will always push you in the direction the pushing piston, which is this one, is facing. So I can just stand right here, and like I've demonstrated before already, it will push you right in that direction. Now this means that we can make upward sand pushes, downward sand pushes, and sand pushes in all cardinal directions. So no diagonal sand pushers, because that just won't work. You cannot also activate two pistons at once, that won't push you diagonally. You can only make it downwards, upwards, or in the cardinal directions. Now another property of these sand pushers is that they work through blocks. They will not push you through blocks, but if you stand behind a block, they will still affect you. So you can effectively make completely hidden sand pushers that way, and they will just still affect you. However, you do have to keep in mind that you will only get pushed 12 blocks relative to this piston right here, if you are not being pushed by this piston right here exactly. Now, as for a limit for how far the sand pusher can push you, technically it can push you all the way up your render distance. Not your simulation distance, but your render distance. So if we just go in game settings, as you can see, our simulation distance is 4 chunks, but our render distance, of course, is higher, and it will push you up to your render distance. However, from my testing, it seems to cap out at around 500 stacked gravity blocks, and then it won't work properly anymore. Then it will just push you 12 blocks like it would if you had taken any distance from the pushing piston. Now, I say sand pusher because it is a convenient name, but this of course works with all other gravity blocks which have a collision box, which would notably be gravel, dragon eggs, anvils, and whatnot. I am not sure if scaffolding works, because you kinda can walk through the side of it, but what I do know is that the other gravity blocks work. So all the concrete powder and whatever, it all works for sand pushers. Now, I did mention sand pushers being a thing for all cardinal directions, downwards and upwards, and I'm going to show you exactly how to build them. Now, first of all, we're going to start with the simple upwards sand pusher, and this is the one also used in my Elytra launcher video. So we're just going to start off with a sticky piston and a normal piston, as they're facing that way, some slabs. And what you're going to want to do then is either stack your sand by putting it there, Or in my case, because I'm creative and I can just fly up, I'm just going to stack it up that way and then break the bottom block, and that will efficiently stack up all these gravity blocks. Now you're just going to want to place a piston on that side and make sure that the gravity blocks are right there. And what you can do then is take a normal piston, a stair, and then just place your stair like that. Now the last part is optional. You can replace this with a stair or keep it a slab. Do keep in mind that this is a visual glitch and it does not affect anything except for an exception, which I'm going to show you later. But anyways, this is the sand pusher that works vertically, and it's a simple one that I already showed off. And it's simple. You just have to activate this sticky piston, and we can simply do that by having a button and some redstone dust. And there you go, it pushes you up. As like I said, if you take distance from the pushing piston, it will not properly push you, it will only push you up to 12 blocks. Next up is a sand pusher type that I just recently discovered, and it is a double speed sand pusher. Now, usually sand pushers are limited by the speed at which pistons can extend, so that means every 8 game ticks you would be able to be pushed by these pieces of sand. However, I have found a method for it to work on retraction as well, so that effectively makes it a double speed sand pusher, which means it will also push you on retraction, so every 4 game ticks. And to make this one, you need to do something very similar to this one, so we're going to start off the same by having a layout like that. And what we're going to do, of course, is stack up the sands like before. However, what you're going to do next is not quite exactly the same, because of course you're just going to push it in that spot. But what you're going to do now is have a top slab, just like this, and then you have to remove this right here. And when you activate this, you will notice that it will be sort of glitched inside of this stair right here, and this is exactly what we need for the sand pusher to also work on retraction. Now we're just going to go ahead and replace this with a normal block because it works on normal blocks, and this is our double speed sand pusher. It will also work on retraction, so we can just demonstrate this. If I extend it, it pushes you, and if I retract it, it pushes you as well. So if we just put this on a clock, let's just put this on a clock like this, just a very simple redstone block piston clock. As you can see, I will only be pushed every 8 game ticks, which is every time this bottom piston extends. However, with this one, if I put it on the same clock, I will get pushed twice as fast. Now it is kind of hard to demonstrate, but I will also get pushed on retraction. And again, we can just demonstrate it like that. I get pushed on retraction. And the same rule applies, of course. You need to be properly distanced to the pushing piston. I am not aware of any designs for double speed sand pushers that work downwards or sideways, but if you do, let me know, because I think it's a very interesting thing, and having more speed on those sand pushers could definitely help in some cases, like some mob farms. Either way, let's start with the bottom sand pusher. Now, like I said, sand pushers work through blocks, so they won't push you through blocks, but they will push you if they are behind a block. And this also applies to the piston on which the gravity block is stacked. So we're just going to build something like this really quickly, and then stack some gravity blocks on top. Let's put some more. And if I put the sand down, make it stack, we can just go up a little and have a piston facing down, and that will be our downwards sand pusher. Now let's just demonstrate this by just having something like this. Let's put some dust right here, add a button, and I will get pushed downwards. Now technically this can be used in stuff like blaze farms to make the blazes go faster outside of the detection range of their respective spawner. But I have tried it, and honestly it's quite laggy. I'm not sure if there's much of an increase because there is a cooldown anyway, and most of the time they will be passively moved out of the detection range anyway. So there's not much use for this in terms of blaze farms, although it might be worth a try. I did try it a little, but yeah, this is just the downwards pusher. And with this one, since you can't be close enough to the pushing piston, I believe that you can't be pushed down further than 12 blocks. Now, if you are wondering, since this teleports you down sort of, you will not take any fall damage, But of course, since after you reach the 12 blocks, you will start falling like normal, but then you will be affected by gravity and you will take fall damage relative to the B position of which the sand pusher pushed you. Alright, now that we got the vertical sand pusher designs out of the way, I am just going to show you the horizontal sand pusher design. So it's fairly simple. You just need to make something like this and stack up your gravity blocks. And then you can, of course, stack them up on this piston right here. Now, like before, you do need to make sure that it is on this side. And once you are at that point, you can actually remove this, given that you never move it in the other direction. And that way it will basically just stay on that one, and you will save some pistons, because pistons are pretty expensive in Bedrock Edition with the lack of good iron farms. And this is pretty much your entire sand pusher. It works just like you expect it to. Now you can make this a little more compact by just pushing this piston right here, and it will still work like expected. So that is the horizontal sand pusher. One small note about horizontal pushers: if you have one that looks like this, because you can definitely make them and they will work for a short period of time, they look less complicated, but they actually have the issue that sometimes they will just glitch down into this block right here, and that will just completely break the sand pusher. Nothing will happen anymore, and yeah, you definitely don't want that to happen. And the only way to prevent something like that is to build this right here, where it is stuck between two blocks, and this will not happen to this one. So yeah, that one is unfortunately not very viable, and it would have been very more practical if it was viable, but this is what we have to work with at the moment. So of course, this interesting behavior of stacked gravity blocks was discovered by only 21, and he's pretty much a genius for figuring this out, because this is pretty revolutionary and Bedrock Edition technology, and this has very many applications. In fact, I'm going to show you a couple of applications for this technology. First of all, you can use this for collection systems. I have this as a collection system for my sim-tick melon and pumpkin farm, and I'm just going to demonstrate this for you. So basically, if I activate this repeater, what happens is that these dirt blocks get pushed up, and then the sand pushers push the items right up against that glass pane, where they fall into these hoppers. And that is a very interesting collection system. So we can just do that for a second. As you can see, it gets pushed up and down like that. Perfect. Let's just pick our stuff back up, and I don't know why it stopped. Oh, probably because it's powered. Anyway, this is a pretty nice use for these sand pushers, and yeah. Now the next use for these gravity block or sand pushers, of course, is mob transportation. And this in fact is extremely useful for my gold farm. So this is my 90,000 XP per hour pigment gold farm. And as far as I know, it's the fastest portal design available. And there are designs that use more than 4 portals, but honestly, I did test it myself and I tried for a long time, and it seems like there is massive issues with the portals being properly broken at higher speeds, so they effectively just reduce the rate at which the portals get broken, and at that point they just reach the same speed as the 4 portals. So if you see any video saying, yeah, my 8 portal design is the fastest one there is, they didn't do much testing. But back on the point, this is an extremely useful contraption right here. So we just use tripwire hooks, since they can cross, and that's just fine. We use these tripwire hooks to toggle observer clocks, and these observer clocks will just push you repeatedly, first from those corners to the center little pathways, and from the center pathways into one of the 4 Shrine Killers. And this of course is used for my pigmen farm, so I'm just going to turn mob spawning on and then toggle the thing. Mob spawning should be game, my bad. So if we just toggle that on and then turn this on from down here, it will start, oh my god, that's very loud. Anyways, it will start breaking and lighting the portals again. And as you can see, the sand pushers do in fact push the pigmen right into the Shrine Killers. And I'm going to stop this because this is going to hoard up a lot of pigmen. So let's just leave that off. And yeah, as you can see, all those pigmen got pushed right into the kill chambers with the combination of those sand pushers. So that's very useful. Now the last application that I discussed with you before is of course using this for blaze spawner farms. So I'm just going to do time set night for them to be able to spawn. As you can see, they do spawn. And if we just put that on a clock, they will indeed start falling down faster. Well, they won't fall down faster, but they will just get pushed down. If I do actually toggle the clock, because I am pretty stupid. But let's just see. Let's get ourselves a blaze. And since you know blaze falls slowly, so if I just put that, as you can see, they get pushed down by those downward sand pushers. And that might be useful, but I don't see much benefit in it, honestly, because it is quite a lot of resources first of all, and then you also have to consider that there is a cooldown on the spawner anyway, and that means that it might really not be worth it to push them down instantly, because it might not make the blazes spawn faster after all, since they might just be out of the detection range by the time the cooldown already finishes. So another very useful application for these sand pushers is elytra launchers, and I have already previously showcased this. These will push you up very high, and as I did say before, there seems to be the limit of around 500 stacked gravity blocks. So as you can see, if I get pushed up, I will be at around Y500. I did get put to Y504 because I was at Y4 down there. And it does seem like this 500 limit applies in all directions. And yeah, so this is a pretty cool thing. And of course I have shown this already, so it might not be something very new to you. And the last use, of course, is fast transportation. Now, I don't believe that this is a good method of transportation if you're willing to go very, very far, because chaining them is very painful and it often does not work as expected. So I would definitely not recommend using them for transportation, but if you're still interested, I have a video which will be in the iCard on the top right, which shows and compares different methods of travel, and the conclusion, of course, is that button, glitch, ice, highway is still the best method of travel. So I wouldn't really bother going through the trouble of using a sand pusher for transportation. So I believe I did cover all functionality and all properties of sand pushers in this little explanation video. So let me know if I missed anything that you noticed, although make sure that you respect what you saw in this video, because there might be some weird properties that can be explained through these mechanics. And of course, again, like I said before, mechanic from Only21, which is pretty much a genius. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Will also be linked in the description, of course. So with that being said, make sure to subscribe to my channel, because I do keep interesting videos of tech like this coming out soon. And of course, more Xploit content soon, so stay on the lookout for that. But that will be it for me today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you got a ton of views out of this. My name's Nex, and bye bye.